It's September the 30th, 2020. We're back on track again with lessons in Leviticus. Many thanks to Laura and Henry again for keeping us on track. And our reading today is Leviticus chapter 22. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron and his sons to treat with respect the sacred offerings the Israelites consecrate to me, so that they will not profane my holy name. I am the Lord. Say to them for the generations to come, if any of your descendants is ceremonially unclean and yet comes near the sacred offerings that the Israelites consecrate to the Lord, that person must be cut off from my presence. I am the Lord. If a descendant of Aaron has an infectious skin disease or a bodily discharge, he may not eat the sacred offerings until he is cleansed. He will also be unclean if he touches something defiled by a corpse or by anyone who has an emission of semen, or if he touches any crawling thing that makes him unclean, or any person who makes him unclean, whatever the uncleanness may be. The one who touches any such thing will be unclean till evening. He must not eat any of the sacred offerings unless he has bathed himself with water. When the sun goes down, he will be clean, and after that he may eat the sacred offerings, for they are his food. He must not eat anything found dead or torn by wild animals, and so become unclean through it. I am the Lord." The priests are to keep my requirements so that they do not become guilty and die for treating them with contempt. I am the Lord who makes them holy. No one outside a priest's family may eat the sacred offering, nor may the guest of a priest or his hired worker eat it. But if a priest buys a slave with money, or if a slave is born in his household, that slave may eat his food. If a priest's daughter marries anyone other than a priest, she may not eat any of the sacred contributions. But if a priest's daughter becomes a widow or is divorced, yet has no children, and she returns to live in her father's house as in her youth, she may eat of her father's food. No unauthorized person, however, may eat any of it. If anyone eats a sacred offering by mistake, he must make restitution to the priest for the offering and add a fifth of the value to it. The priest must not desecrate the sacred offerings the Israelites present to the Lord by allowing them to eat the sacred offerings and so bring upon them guilt requiring payment. I am the Lord who makes them holy. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and his sons and to all the Israelites and say to them, if any of you, either an Israelite or an alien living in Israel, presents a gift for a burnt offering to the Lord, either to fulfill a vow or as a freewill offering, you must present a male without defect from the cattle, sheep, or goats, in order that it may be accepted on your behalf. Do not bring anything with a defect, because it will not be accepted on your behalf. When anyone brings from the herd or flock a fellowship offering to the Lord to fulfill a special vow or as a freewill offering, it must be without defect or blemish to be acceptable. Do not offer to the Lord the blind, the injured, or the maimed, or anything with warts or festering or running sores. Do not place any of these on the altar as an offering made to the Lord by fire. You may, however, present as a freewill offering an ox or a sheep that is deformed or stunted, but it will not be accepted in fulfillment of a vow. You must not offer to the Lord an animal whose testicles are bruised, crushed, torn, or cut. You must not do this in your own land, and you must not accept such animals from the hand of a foreigner and offer them as the food of your God. They will not be accepted on your behalf because they are deformed and have defects." The Lord said to Moses, "When a calf, a lamb, or a goat is born, it is to remain with its mother for 7 days. From the 8th day on, it will be acceptable as an offering made to the Lord by fire. Do not slaughter a cow or a sheep and its young on the same day. When you sacrifice a thank offering to the Lord, Sacrifice it in such a way that it will be accepted on your behalf. It must be eaten that same day. Leave none of it till morning. I am the Lord. Keep my commands and follow them. I am the Lord. Do not profane my holy name. I must be acknowledged as holy by the Israelites. I am the Lord, who makes you holy, and who brought you out of Egypt to be your God. I am the Lord. Amen. So in this chapter, we continue with the priest's holy calling from yesterday. We began there and we continue with that. And this is a solemn chapter full of warning, because the priests need to know, we need to know, that there is service and there are sacrifices that are unacceptable to God. And there are serious consequences if we bring them. Verses 1 to 16, we have the unacceptable service. Now, we've seen before in Leviticus that holy living and holy service to God involves separation. Separation from everything that would make us unclean. That's what will disqualify us from the presence and the service of God. Certainly that's true for these priests. And of course, under this old covenant, it's ceremonial. It involves external things, physical things. They are symbolic and they are significant, but they are largely external. These things that would make a priest ceremonially unclean, verse 3. Again, we've seen this before, like verse 4, having that infectious skin disease that we've seen many times, or touching dead bodies, we've seen that many times. These things will make a man unclean, unfit, and therefore disqualified from ministry in the sanctuary. For us today, that makes us think, surely, that every Christian is called to a life of separation from that which is unclean, that which is unholy, that which is worldly. We are called to live a holy, separate life for the glory of God. And leaders, that's what these priests are, leaders have special burdens of responsibility and specially high standards that they have to fulfill if their service is to be acceptable to God. Verses 1 to 16. But then, as well as unacceptable service, we also have here unacceptable sacrifices, verses 17 to 33. This very much echoes the previous chapter, if you remember, with its reference again and again to defects and deformities. There, it was speaking about people, the priests themselves. Here, it's to do with the animals that the priests would take and offer up. So, for example, take verse 22. Do not offer to the Lord the blind, the injured, or the maimed, or anything with warts or festering or running sores. There are offerings, there are animals, deformed, defected, diseased, that are not acceptable and God will not allow. Again, this is a good challenge and a solemn warning to us, because so many people, their response to God is something like this. Of course, God will accept me. Of course, my service is acceptable to him. Why? Because it felt good, because it seemed right. Anyway, he's a loving God. He would never reject me. He would never exclude me. Well, 8 times in this chapter, 8 times, did you notice it? God says, I am the Lord. He is asserting his authority and his demands over his people. And again, he says things like verse 32, do not profane my holy name. I must be acknowledged as holy by the Israelites. I am the Lord who makes you holy. So it's a terrible thing to be deceived about the most important issue of all, our relationship with God, our service to him, the offerings, the sacrifices we bring, ultimately our very lives. Our service can be unacceptable to God. And many people who think that they are Christians, they are not. And many people who are serving the Lord, who are true believers, they're doing so in a corrupt way, and a way that is not acceptable to God. A chapter like this challenges us and surely wakes us up and makes us think again of a verse like Proverbs chapter 14 and verse 12, which says, there is a way that seems right unto a man, but the end thereof is the way of death.